such an asshole.
We have an original request, which is different from a regular request, because a regular request is where you ask me a question about a thing, and if I provide you an answer to the thing with the stuff for money. An original request, you say, Cappy, what do you want to talk about? And goddamn, do I want to talk about something. So, as you know, for fun, I get my geek on, right? I don't watch videos on politics and economics. I got, really? Now Chad wants to join. I called him before. I'm like, hey, I need an accountant. No, he's too good to pick up. I'll wing this on my own, even though I don't have my CPA. So I listen to the nerd podcast because it's fun. That's how I relax. And obviously, one of the main topics of conversation of all the different shows that I listen to is all these companies, whether it's a video game or a movie, making just poor quality products, horrible video games, horrible movies. They're going to lose money. And then the question they all discuss is, well, they're going to write it off. They're just going to write it off. Oh, they're just going to write it off. These corporations, they write it off. And all right, I understand if you went to school for journalism or media or whatever it is, you didn't go to school for accounting, and you are a social media critic. You don't really, okay, I'm not going to. And then the critical drinker said, well, I think they're just going to write it off. I'm like, oh no, not you, sir. Not you. And so now I am actually going to y'all, because you do need to know the difference here, because, well, it's just painting me and it's wrong. So I have linked below, right? And you may want to pause it here right now. Link below in the description, the very first link is a link to a YouTube channel or YouTube video showing a scene from Seinfeld where Kramer and Jerry Seinfeld are talking. And Kramer just says, well, these corporations, they just write things off, Jerry. And Jerry's like, what do you mean a write-off? You don't even know what a write-off is. And then Kramer says, well, do you? And Jerry says, no. And then Kramer says, well, they do. And they write things off. And it makes it sound like, well, this company was about to lose money. And they go into their basket of magic wands and they pull out the write-off wand and they just wave it around like that. Poof. We wrote it off. It's all fine now. That is not what happens. Because without knowing the finer accounting details, to the lay person, which is a lot of people out there that are lay people, all right, with the Bell distribution curve, they think that that didn't cost the corporation money, that somehow the corporation just waved the magic wand and they got all their money back. Well, okay, too bad. Now, don't worry, we'll just write it off. It's not how that works. All right, so how a write-off works, we'll explain to you right now. Everything is written off. And what the word or phrase write-off means is you are writing off or deducting the expenses you incurred to run a business or run a product or create a movie or whatever else. So let's take Shit Brown and the Seven Portlanders. I'm sorry, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Okay? This is just one project Disney made. Disney has billions of dollars. We're going to ignore all that for now. Disney spent their estimate, what is it? Is it up to $400 million now on creating this movie? I don't know if it's 400 million. Let's just call it 400 million. All right. What are these expenses that they incurred to create this movie? Well, there's obviously they had to pay their actors. They have to pay the electric bill. They have to pay the set and the production people. They have to pay flight expenses. They got to pay materials to have the costumes. They got to pay CGI, because why would you employ a bunch of short people who would love that acting opportunity? No, we're going to have a bunch of fucked up looking Portlander people, and then we're going to get rid of them, and then we're going to make them computer graphics. All right, so you got some CGI expense. Every single penny that is expended, that Disney spent on creating Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the remake, all of that is already written off. They've already cut the check. They've paid the makeup department. They've paid the utility bill. They might incur future expenses, but they have already paid out those expenses. And in them paying the expenses, they have already quote written them off. What have they written them off from? Well, it has yet to be published. The movie has yet to go into theaters, but it would be written off against the future revenue that the movie would bring in. Now, this isn't going to happen, but let's say Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the hate-filled remake, brings in $1 billion. It's not going to. Let's just say it does. Okay. If you went and say, okay, Disney, on that $1 billion that you took in, you got to pay taxes on it. That wouldn't be fair because this is like, wait. We incurred some expenses. We had some expenses we paid to create that $1 billion. So we're in the whole 400 million of expenses. What we ought to be able to do is take the $1 billion we took in sales or revenue, it's the same thing, and subtract or write off the 400 million, leaving us with only 600 million in profits for which we should be taxed. Because if you tax them on total revenue, that completely discounts the expenses they incurred. And sometimes you'd wipe out all the profit. It's a possibility for that to happen, and then no one would create movies because there's be no profit. So you can't tax people on the revenue. You got to tax them on their profits, the amount of money they have after they deduct or write off their expenses. So once a company pays an expense, that expense is already tax deductible or a write off. For example, I'm trying to think of something a little bit more. Okay, here's a perfect example. All right. I used to teach ballroom dance classes, right? And I would bring myself a bottle of Mountain Dew because I get thirsty and my throat would get parched. So it's not a big expense, but back then, the dollar or whatever I spent on my bottle of Mountain Dew, I would save the receipt and I would write it off. Now, I didn't get the check at that moment in time, right? I got paid, I think it was quarterly or monthly. The check would come in, but I'd save my receipt. And then when it came time to do tax time, I had my income statement. I'd add up all the income that I made teaching dance classes, and then I'd subtract out all my expenses, computer, travel, and, I don't know, $200 worth of Mountain Dew over the course of a year, right? So these companies have already written off the expenses they incurred creating these products, whether they're video games or movie. The question is whether the movies or the products or the video games are going to generate the revenue of which there's revenue to offset or write off from, thereby leaving a profit. And I think in nearly all these cases, whether it's Sony or Warner Brothers or certainly Disney, you could say, well, wait a minute. They had, again, let's use Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They incurred $400 million in expenses. They only bring in 200 million in revenue for movie sales. They have a loss of $200 million. Okay. And they would normally actually get a tax benefit from that. Or you just lower the taxes on future income that they would generate. Not to bore you with deferred taxes. This is why accountants don't get laid. All right. But Disney, Warner Brothers, Sony, all these other corporations generally have other divisions making lots of money. And you don't pay taxes on each individual product. You pay it on the consolidated, on the total. And so fine. Disney takes a $200 million loss on Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but they came out with, I think it wasn't um, Wolverine and Deadpool, Deadpool and Wolverine. I think they made money. Plus, Disney's theme parks bring in profits. So when you add it all up, there's still some extra revenue they would write off those added expenses against. And when you sum total it up, there's still a profit at the end. But you are always writing things off. There's not an instance where you don't write it off. The question is whether there's any revenue to write it off against. And if your company is in that bad of a situation, well, then you usually go bankrupt shortly thereafter, which ignore that for now. But this isn't This isn't a scheme. And by the way, I'm not defending these companies. I am a huge fan of Clownfish, It's a Gundam, Critical Drinker, and those are the 3 I remember saying, "Well, they just write them off, Jerry." And I was like, "Oh, no." But I think and I'm accused all of you. You're all guilty of this, all of you. Endymion, Heels on Babyface, no, all of you are guilty of this. Almost wanna do a course on, like, basic, income statement analysis. And I truly, they have provided me hundreds, if not thousands of hours of entertainment. I love these guys. It's just like, oh God, just stop, stop making it sound like they're making money. Like it isn't, it's costing them tremendously. If they make a shit product and they incur all these expenses and they write them off, but it doesn't generate the revenue, yeah, they're losing money. They're losing, but there's no like magic trick they get reimbursed by the taxpayer. It doesn't happen that way. Or somehow they're cheating the system. They've incurred the expenses. They've paid them out. They've all written them off. It's just, it's not like there's no subterfuge. There's no loophole. There's none of that. It's just an accounting thing you do all the time with all your expenses. So there you go. I hope that made sense. I hope somebody shares it with these guys. I'm not in there. The only one I'm adjacent to is Andrew from Legal Mindset, and he knows Valiant Renegade. But Valiant Renegade, he knows this shit because he's actually a financial analyst. He knows what I'm talking about. That's why he wasn't up there. He wasn't on the wall of shame. All right, because he knows what maybe he could explain better than me in movie terms. But that's the one wish I have, that the people I listen to on the internet, that you just not abuse the term write-off or use it appropriately. All right. We got no super chats. That's it. Oh, there you go. Chad. Now, yeah, you happy to pop? Hang on. Let me invite you, Chad. Let me get you on here. Or you can go watch the video I have linked below. Check your Twitter, Chad. Everyone, take a break. Just watch that video while I do this. I guess Chad he's not too big for me. He's gonna hang out with us little people today. All right, now we gotta find Chad in the messages. Of course, it's gonna go slow. All right, Chad, I sent it to you. Got that. Oh, we got one super chat. Ken Rose for $2. Thanks, Ken. Thanks for the thumbs up. While we wait for Chad, link below, you will find a link to that Seinfeld video. Also, a link to Bachelor Pad Economics. It's a book I wrote about financial planning for everyday people. And then also, if you are interested in the wonderful world of accounting and not getting laid, we have a course. Me and Chad put together a course called The World's Greatest Accounting Career, where you can learn what a tax write-off is. What's up?
I will have you know that at least some of us have the potential to get laid every so often.
Only through your podcasting internet friends, apparently.
Well, it pays to be famous. You're just some other guy, remember?
I'm some. I give you my groupies. You. So, how did I explain it? Did I explain it good enough? Clearly
Yeah,
enough?
that was pretty good. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, Chad is a CPA, so he knows, and he's my CPA. What do you think when people use that term? I'm trying to figure it out, where they think the money just goes into the ether, like, oh, well, we screwed it up and somehow the government bails them out. I mean, what do you think the average person on the street's impression is of a write-off? Because they say it in the context of the amount. Well, they just write it off, like as if it doesn't cost these corporations anything when they blow all that money away.
It's horribly overused. I mean, it is just, people need to stop using that term. And one thing I don't like is that they act like it's a good thing to like spend a lot of money for the write-offs. That's not really how this works. If you're going to spend it anyway and you want to do it before the end of the year, that's one thing, but don't deliberately spend money on business expenses you don't need because you can, quote, write it off. Some of my clients are terrible at that.
Wait. So, okay, you actually have clients who will spend more money than what it will cost them to pay the taxes. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't think people were that dumb. Look, guys, this is for those of you running a business, whether it's a corporation or sole proprietorship. The goal is not to have tax deductions. The goal is to have the most amount of profit left over. All right. And in you going and buying stuff you don't need, instead of giving the money to the IRS or the state collection agency, state revenue agency, you're just giving it to a corporation. You want to have the most amount of money in your account. So there you actually shoot yourself in the foot spending all this money wiping out your taxable income so you can write everything off and owe no taxes. You're just giving the money to someone else, like a contractor or a corporation, to increase your expenses.
Do you know Wayfair, the furniture?
Yeah, Wayfair, sure.
So my particular niche client, who I think you know who that is, this group, they're obsessed with Wayfair. So they would rather spend all their money at Wayfair because it helps lower their net income for taxes on shit that they don't need. It's crazy.
Isn't Wayfair just furniture?
Yeah. I don't know
how much furniture do you need?
Do you know how many times I've asked them that? You know, I have my client base tilts heavily female. I'm not trying to make any commentary on that.
Just speaking the truth.
They do buy a lot of furniture for reasons I don't understand. Yeah.
I have a question, sir. Where do they put all the furniture?
I know that's the other thing, is that ever since the end of COVID, a lot of them have given up their physical offices because, you know, they can work remotely. Yeah. So it'll be tax season and I'll see all these charges for Wayfair for like sofas and all this other stuff. And I have to say, you got rid of your office. How is this a business expense? Oh, well, I wanted to spruce up my living room because I had one client sit there one time that I brought home. I'm like, no.
That's a stretch. No.
Yeah, that doesn't work that way. That'd be like you writing off your hot tub because I was in it one time. That's the equivalent.
Yeah, that's a stretch. No, I wouldn't do that. That's how you don't necessarily go to jail, but you get fees and penalties.
You'll get noticed. Yeah.
You'll get noticed. Yeah. Hot tubs and Ferraris, anything that's fun as a write-off, that immediately arouses suspicion.
Definitely. Yeah.
Like if you write off paper or a photocopier, not a lot of fun having with a photocopier unless you get creative. But when you write off trips to Europe, then things start, then the agents start to smell a little something.
You see how I have to sort of act like a cop, a policeman a lot of the time during the busiest time?
You have to. Well, I get a kick out of it because I know the political leanings generally of your clients, and they're all about having higher taxes, except when it comes to them having to pay it. Then they're scrambling to find a way not to pay it, and it's like
they always feel like somebody else needs to pay for all this stuff.
That's how it works. But and they're not dumb. I mean, they are professional people. They are highly educated. They should know some basic accounting of how this works. I don't mean the taxes, but just, hey, you're losing money buying furniture you don't need. Pay the damn taxes and be up 60, 70% as opposed to writing shit off and having zero money left over.
Well, I can tell you why, at least not all, but some of their brains can't comprehend that. The issue is that even after years of working with some of them and explaining it to them and taking great pains to educate them, they can't seem to separate their business from their personal life. Like they feel that mentally they spend money personally and they're like, oh, well, you know, I have a business anyway, you know, I'll just,
that's the corrupt write-off.
Yes.
That right there is the corrupt write-off where it's like, hey, bro, we talked about this. Haha, I'm on my boat. Let's write it. No, that's corrupt. That's theft or tax evasion or whatever the official thing is. But that they shouldn't be doing. But when you spend $250 million on a video game development, that's not fun.
No,
that's like a sincere, that's a real expense.
Actually, quick story, because, you know, I'm in extension season. I'm doing some corporate stuff this week. A week from tomorrow is the deadline. There was one in particular, just Thursday, I'm going through it. she had a trip to Vegas, full, all the hotels, meals, all the airfare and everything. And it was a lot of money. And so I had to email her and be like, you need to explain this. And she goes, oh, they offered me this continuing education course. It was just for an hour one day, but I decided to make a whole week of the trip. I'm just like, so you're thinking that we should deduct your entire like hotel stay and everything for that one little course?
1 hour course, and she has
Yeah.
a week of expenses.
So she was mad at me for being a watchdog.
It's your fault, not for her voting a certain way. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Again, I have a question. I got a question.
Yep.
Would a sales tax eliminate all this?
Yes, it would.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to know, sir. Just wondering. Seems awfully simpler to me. You want to do some quick super chats while you're here?
Yeah, that's cool. I just didn't want somebody to enter the frame.
Yeah, because I'm aware of the female persuasion. They're kind of dingbatty. They just, what's going on? What are you doing?
Did you know, Mad, for $2 Canadian, how would Cappy thrive and survive working corporate? He wouldn't.
I would do it differently now. I would just lie and cheat and do exactly what they wanted me to do. That's what I would, because that's how you get ahead. Doing the right thing doesn't get you there. I would stop banging my head against the wall, and I'd just be like, what do you want? Okay, cool. Let's throw grandma out on the street. Whatever you want.
Sam Whiskey for $9.99. Hey, Icarus, I think the media is hiking too close to the sun. Not even write-offs will save them.
Well, that's the problem with the media is like they don't have the revenue. Like I'm talking CNN and all that. Their revenues are not covering their expenses. So soon they're going to be, they're going to be out of business. They're going to be shut down.
Soon. Okay, Lord, for $2. Happy Chad Tax Day. Yes. The tables are turned a little bit now, aren't they?
So what? You got like 2 or 3 more months before busy season next year?
Let's see.
4?
So, yeah, I got some work to do late September, early October. And then, it's pretty much a 3-month break from about October 15 to January 15.
I'm sure I've asked you this before. What do out of season tax accountants do? Do you just do pot and sleep and like go into hibernation? Are you like sloths? What do you do when there's no taxes? You just walk around like Pablo Escobar in that meme, looking all sad and waiting for things, sitting in your pool by yourself?
Well, the candidate and I just booked a trip to Salt Lake City like a few days after the deadline ends. So I may actually get to meet Rare. Is that not very
you
exciting?
go visit Rare, but you won't come out here to South Lake.
When I said this to her, I was talking to her, I go, that is the very first thing he's going to say. He's going to be
darn right. It's the first thing. I'm going to go. You're going further than you have to see Rare.
I'll make sure that this will make you feel better. It's for a sports ball related reason. So
no, that doesn't make me feel better. That makes me feel worse. That you should have great shame. But do say hi to Rerb for me. Send me pictures if you guys hang out, right?
And there you have it. Sam Whiskey for $9.99. This is for Vlad. Well, thank you, Sam Whiskey.
I got. See, here's the problem. I split the super chats with you 50-50, right? But if he dedicates it all to you, now I got to give you all $10. Here's the problem, though. You know what's going to happen? All the super chats coming in forth go, this is for Vlad. This is for Vlad. This is a fuck you, Sam. Half of it's mine. I'm not going to start a precedence now.
You're awesome, Sam. You were the best. JJJS for $2.79 Canadian. Chad, which crypto tax software do you suggest? I'm not really aware of any. I mean, I have a few Dude Bro like crypto guys that I'll have to report this stuff. I have no interest in getting my hands dirty and all of this like software that supposedly like calculates all that. Do you know?
Isn't it just in there? Like it's already made for accommodations where you're supposed to like list any kind of capital gains, right? I mean, it should.
Like Coinbase is sort of the gold standard with all this, the stuff that they do. Robinhood has something, but it's not on me to calculate people's crypto gains. If they send me a bunch of shit, I send it back and say, you get this organized. Otherwise, I'm not bothering with it. Bull Muscle for $2. It's about integrity. You either have it or not. Concerning write-offs? Well,
yeah, I'd say so. Like, okay, yeah. Chad, have I ever come up to you? Yeah, I spent 1 hour at the Las Vegas airport and want to write off. Why do I do that, Chad?
I don't think you want to attract. You have integrity, and you don't want to attract unnecessary attention.
I have about this much integrity. I don't want to fucking deal with an IRS audit. That's what it boils down to. That's really what it boils down to. But then also, there's like a little bit of a skeeziness we're like, oh, just write this off. Like, it's like, no. It's like,
You know what I have to? There's this line I have to repeat over and over again when I have to break the bad news. Like, you can't write this off. I'm only trying to protect you. I have to say that so often. I'm only trying to protect you.
No. See, vote for the other political party maybe sometime, huh? You know this guy.
I know Ray John for $2 Canadian. Remember Bernard Chapin, Uncle Burn?
Uncle Bern, yeah. I wish he'd come back, even though him and I don't get along. He was an outstanding podcaster. Outstanding. If he just stuck with it, he would have made a ton of money.
Well, I remember the story. It's not that it's not that you guys don't get along. He just, had a particular.
He went off the edge a little bit. Yeah, it was after I visited you. I was going to go crash with him, and he lost his shit. I'm like, what happened to the code of the brotherhoods of the couch?
I remember that.
So we hope he's doing well wherever he is. That's it. We're caught up.
Oh. So. Time for us to watch the Dallas Cowboys game. And I'm sorry, Clary, but your Vikings won today.
I don't care who they. My only hope for the Vikings is they keep making it into the playoffs, so they keep missing field goals. So every one of those scumbag Minnesotans get all excited and then fucking crushed at the end. That is what I wish. So, all right, you want to take us out?
Toodles.